Well, here we are on the north bank of the River Wear, in the shadow of the Northern Spire Bridge. And more particularly, at the confluence of the Wear and the Hylton Dene Burn. The ancient British had a deity, Conditus, who was god of confluences, and he seems to have been particularly popular along the Wear, so we're on his home ground here. In 1886, a Roman altar dedicated to Conditus was discovered just a few miles from here, near the Roman fort at Chester-le Street, at the confluence of the Burn and the Wear. The Romans equated him with their god Mars, probably in his healing rather than his warlike function. Of course, I made a votive offering to Conditus before starting this journey. We will be following the Hylton Dene Burn inland, towards its source. This short stretch ends here, as the burn's route goes underground for a while. We shall have to detour. A 19th century shipbuilding yard is shown on the first edition Ordnance Survey map, immediately to the east of the Hylton Dene Burn. It had gone by the time of the second edition, and has now reverted to salt marsh. I wonder if any of the old timbers along the riverside date back to that shipyard. That wreck, on the south bank of the Wear, is the Crete Hauser, a tug launched in 1919, and constructed of concrete. She was sold for scrap in 1935, and subsequently used as an emergency breakwater and moored in the South Dock. In 1942 she was holed during an air raid, and towed upriver and beached here. Concrete boats may never have caught on, but more than a century later she's in better condition than a steel or wooden wreck would have been. Up and away from the Wear, and into another section of Sunderland's extensive riverside interzone. I like this bridge. Now, down here. This is the Colliery Pond, which was connected, as you might expect, with the nearby Hilton Colliery, which operated between 1900 and 1979. It's also the continuation of the Hylton Dene Burn. Here's where the burn leaves the pond, en route for the Wear. Now, up here somewhere, if I remember correctly. Yes, there they are. They may not look much now, but these three lumps of concrete were once dragon eggs. They were part of a group of sculptures called Sleeping Dragon, created in 1988 by Abigail Downer, in conjunction with local school children. I can remember when they were still eggs, before the wreckers moved in. The pipe that brings the burn into the pond is somewhere in that lot. Back to where we came in. Now, we cross the road. And down here, another pond. The fishing pond, created in 1995 and stocked with fish for the benefit of anglers. Thinking back to the dragon eggs, they were part of a sculpture trail which also included 4 dragon footprints and the sleeping dragon itself. Here are 2 of the footprints. Couldn't find the other 2. Likewise, I couldn't find the sleeping dragon, although I have seen it in the past. Maybe it's overgrown, or fallen foul of the wreckers. Or I just didn't look hard enough. Anyway, here's an old photo of it. At the far end of the lake, we find the burn. And almost immediately have to leave it again, as we have to circumvent an area of marshland. We are well into Hylton Dene now, and a more wooded terrain. And now we find the burn again. I could smell these from some distance away. Wild garlic. The burn will shortly vanish into another tunnel, under a road. So we divert up and out of the Dene, towards another notable feature in the landscape. Hilton Castle. The first castle on the site, built by Henry D. Hylton in about 1072, was likely to have been constructed of wood. It was subsequently rebuilt in stone, the late 14th or early 15th century, as a 4-story, gatehouse-style, fortified manor house. Of course it was haunted by the ghost of a servant named Roger Skelton, who was said to have been murdered here in 1609 by Lord Robert Hylton. Skelton's restless spirit then began to haunt the castle and would move objects, either misplacing them or tidying up. The spirit was said to have been finally laid to rest when the castle servants made him the gift of a cloak. The castle remained the principal seat of the Hilton family until the death of the last baron in 1746. Adjacent to the castle, St. Catherine's Chapel. A chapel dedicated to St. Catherine of Alexandria is known to have existed on the site since 1157. She's the one the Catherine wheel firework was named after. Nothing remains of the original chapel. The ruins seen today date from the 15th century. In the 1840s, the chapel functioned as a boarding school. Its most famous pupil was Joseph Swan, inventor of the incandescent electric lamp, who was born across the river at Pallion. Anyway, so much for Hilton Castle. Let's find that burn again. Actually, it's not difficult to read the landscape here. They may have built over the Dene, but you can't totally disguise a river valley. Okay, it's somewhere around here. That's the continuation of the Dene. But it looks a bit impenetrable. We'll follow the path for the moment. Ah, here we are. Back to the burn. The Hylton Dene Burn seems to me to have four distinct characters. First, the short tidal section, from the confluence to the first pipe. And incidentally, I wonder how far up the burn would have been tidal, back in the day. 2. The two ponds, both fairly modern innovations. 3. The section from the ponds to Hilton Castle. And 4. This one. Similar to section 3, but with a noticeable increase in human-generated junk, this being the nearest section to human habitation. And this is the last we'll see of the Hylton Dene Burn. It vanishes underground here. It goes under the open green space here. Its course marked by the occasional manhole cover. Under the road here. And on the other side of that hedge, under the dreaded A19. After which, it enters the land of the Nissan car factory. The burn actually rises in a bit of woodland called Hilton Plantation, which is now within the Nissan complex, and so out of bounds to the urban rambler. So that's really the end of the trail. We hope that you enjoyed the trip.